The feud between the fans of How I Met Your Mother and Friends has continued for years. But we must admit that each sitcom is good in its own way. Which show had the better narrative structure? Which series proved once again that the greatest things in the world are simple? And what is the ultimate difference between Ross Geller and Ted Mosby? Hi, I'm Tim, and you're watching Ossa Movies, so that we can finally set the record straight. A more gripping premise. In Friends, they showed us the hilarious everyday lives of the characters, while sometimes giving us interesting flashbacks. Sure, it begins with an important event, Rachel joining the gang, and it ends at a major tear-jerking moment, Monica and Chandler moving out. But in How I Met Your Mother, the plot has a much clearer beginning and an ultimate ending. Since the entire series is a very long story Ted tells his teenage kids, it constantly jumps back and forth, showing us flashbacks and flash-forwards when necessary. And because it's narration-driven, the creators could make storytelling more engaging. The show had us all roped in as we wondered who on earth this mother was and when we will finally see her. First, we saw her yellow umbrella, then we glimpsed a bit of her foot in the episode Girls vs. Suits. We saw her face for the first time only in Season 8's finale, and Season 9 finally revealed more of her sweet personality. Sure, it all ended quite sadly, and not all fans liked it, but we'll get to that later. The originality is undeniable. I know Friends fans' main claim is that How I Met Your Mother is a complete ripoff. After all, it tells us about a group of 20-somethings who live in New York, and even the characters are slightly based on Friends. Besides, isn't Barney a combination of sarcastic Chandler and womanizer Joey? Ted and Marshall were college roommates, just like Ross and Chandler. And there's also a married couple in each one of them, Lily and Marshall and Monica and Chandler, and an on and off couple. You know who I'm talking about. In Friends, they were always hanging out at Central Perk, while in How I Met Your Mother, they loved their booth in McLaren's Pub. I mean, sure, we can also say that the premise of Friends was a bit similar to that of Seinfeld, that appeared even before the all-favorite sitcom. But even though there are a few similarities, Friends characters were completely original. Nothing like this appeared on TV before, but after it was over, new sitcoms about a group of young friends started popping up all over the place. So, although Friends also has its flaws, just like anything else in this world, we should praise it for its originality. It was a turning point in the world of sitcoms, and no one can argue that it wasn't revolutionary. Dramatic moments. A lot of fans noticed that How I Met Your Mother was much more realistic than Friends. It showed life in New York the way it is, and it also added quite a few dramatic moments. Sometimes entire episodes made us cry our eyes out. The characters had to deal with so many things, from breakup to death, to failure and abandonment. It all made them look just like the rest of us. Most sitcoms never deal with such kinds of issues. Like, remember the episode Last Words with Marshall's dad's funeral? Who didn't weep with the characters while watching it? And what about the episode Legend Daddy, where Barney yells at his newfound father asking him why he couldn't have been a lame suburban dad for him? Or how Robin learned that she couldn't have kids in Symphony of Illumination. And the Time Travelers episode in Season 8? Its ending is the most heart-wrenching thing ever. Remember how Ted runs over to the mother because he strives to have 45 more days with her? And the tears in his eyes as he's saying it? Sure, Friends also had its drama, like when Monica and Richard decided to call it quits, when Rachel learns that Ross cheated on her, or when Monica and Chandler learned that they couldn't have kids. But it can't compare to how realistic How I Met Your Mother was when it came to the tough times. All the greatest things are simple. Sure, Friends perhaps wasn't as dramatic or complex as How I Met Your Mother, but you know what was its biggest advantage? It was simple. It was so simple that it was also ingenious. Its premise was as uncomplicated as it could be. Well, it was just about 6 friends hanging out together. Each episode had its own plot, so viewers could watch any one of them and not get confused at all. This kind of plot created a perfect basis for a story that was just funny and didn't really need any emotional and dramatic scenes. And as simple as it was, Friends managed to carry on for 10 whole seasons, and not even one of them disappointed the viewers. Character development, especially Barney. Even though the characters of Friends developed a bit, they basically stayed the same throughout the show. Lovable but silly Joey, sarcastic Chandler, ditzy Rachel, hippie Phoebe. In How I Met Your Mother, the growth is evident, especially in Barney's case. From a womanizer who doesn't give a damn about the emotions of women, he picks up for one-night stands, he turns into a man who falls in love, commits, and eventually becomes a father. Remember how protective he became of his baby daughter in the series finale? It's definitely not the Barney Stinson we first saw in the pilot episode. All the other characters changed and grew throughout the show too. They were constantly reassessing their lives, their values, and their desires. Robin went from being a career-centric girl to a mature woman who is ready for commitment. Lily and Marshall are no longer the cute perfect couple from the first season. They overcome the tough times and become great parents to their 3 kids. And even Ted learns to let go of the past and finally become open to meeting the love of his life. It was more spontaneous. But even though the character development was minor, Friends still was extremely hilarious. Since different production styles were chosen for the sitcoms, Friends looked less forced than How I Met Your Mother. Friends was filmed with a live studio audience, which means that the show didn't have room for error. They couldn't keep the audience waiting forever, and they had to say their lines and shoot everything relatively quickly. For this reason, they often had to be spontaneous and improvise on set. Meanwhile, How I Met Your Mother was filmed differently. "There's no way we could shoot this amount of material in front of an audience," co-creator Craig Thomas commented to the Chicago Tribune. "It would blur the line between an audience and hostage situation." Since Friends had a real audience instead of a laugh track, it resulted in more authentic funny moments. In comparison, How I Met Your Mother sometimes used the laugh track inappropriately and placed it in moments where it wasn't needed. Ted is better than Ross. The two characters are frequently compared because they both are the nerd in the group and they are in love with one of their friends. But Ross, however lovable he could be, always was quite selfish and kind of sociopathic. Just remember the sandwich scene, or how he often thought that he was the smartest among his friends. Ted was completely different. He often spoke about life, discussed different emotions and how to deal with them, showed us all how important it is to keep the faith, and he grew out of his failures. Do you remember his quotes like "Nothing good happens after 2 a.m."? He taught us so many things. Did Ross give us anything like it? "We were on a break" doesn't count. And also, Ted made Robin a better person and helped her grow, while Ross became furiously jealous of Rachel when she found her dream job. Ted was selfless. He was always there for Robin, and when she fell in love with his best friend, he stepped back, even though it hurt him very much. And he didn't even say that he's fine. The on and off romance. Although Rachel and Ross aren't the healthiest of couples, the chemistry between them is undeniable. Fans love to see them getting in and out of the relationship, and the episodes that were based on their romance had the highest ratings. Every development was a shock for the audience. Ross being jealous of Mark, taking a break, saying "I take thee Rachel," getting married in Vegas, and having a baby together. Each one of these twists happened completely out of the blue and stirred up our interest in the show. It kept us hooked until the very end, right until Rachel got off the plane. Meanwhile, Ted and Robin's romance eventually got to the point where fans rolled their eyes when Ted said "I love you, Robin" again. Many more shipped Robin and Barney more than Robin and Ted, after all, and that's part of the reason why the finale didn't satisfy everyone. Awesome supporting characters. The main cast of Friends is extremely lovable, but the show's supporting characters don't shine as brightly. Sure, Janice and Gunter were amazing, but they didn't really get the development they deserved. As a result, supporting characters on Friends were quite shallow, and sometimes downright annoying, and if you think about it, they weren't that funny. But in the case of How I Met Your Mother, we see a myriad of great new characters who add something to the show and inspire change in the life of the main characters. Stella breaks Ted's heart but inadvertently helps him meet the love of his life. Nora makes Barney skip the heartbeat. Kevin helps Robin reveal her hidden vulnerability. Marshall's mom and Lily's dad are funny characters who help us find new edges in the best couple of the series. And Tracy, who joins the cast at the end, is just marvelous, and you can't argue with that. The series finale that all fans loved. This is where Friends totally wins over the hearts of the viewers. The final episode of How I Met Your Mother divided fans into two groups. Those who thought that it was logical that Ted went back to Robin, and those who hated it so much that they even signed a petition, trying to make the creators reshoot the ending. Nothing bad can be said about the finale of Friends. The last one was one of the most emotional episodes of the entire show, and as the characters were saying goodbye to the apartment, we were saying farewell to them. They were preparing to take a step into a new life. Monica and Chandler moving into their new house with 2 kids, Ross and Rachel finally back together, Phoebe married Mike, and Joey preparing to live away from his friends. And meanwhile, we had tears in our eyes. After all, we knew that it was the end of it, and let's agree that it was logical and perfect. And what do you think? Do you like Friends more, or are you a bigger fan of How I Met Your Mother? Share in the comments why you think your favorite sitcom wins. Don't forget to subscribe and stay awesome. Thanks for watching.